There comes a moment in every life, often quiet, often unseen, when something snaps. Not with rage, not with drama, but with clarity. A still cold realization that says, I can't live like this anymore. Maybe you're there now. Maybe life has been pulling you in every direction except forward. Maybe you've been shrinking yourself to fit places you've outgrown. Maybe you're tired, not just physically, but spiritually, from giving everyone else your best while leaving your own soul running on fumes. This book is for that version of you. The version that's ready to reclaim your energy, rewrite your story, and stop waiting for the world to hand you permission to finally focus on yourself. Because here's the truth. Nobody is coming to save you. Not your friends, not your family, not your boss, not your partner, your healing, your growth, your future. It's all on you. And that's not something to fear. That's something to embrace. Welcome to Focus on You Until You Win. This is not a guidebook full of cheap hacks or surface-level advice. This is a mirror. It's here to reflect your habits, your patterns, your excuses, and then walk you through the fire of change, one truth at a time. What this book is really about. This isn't about becoming selfish. It's about becoming whole. It's about cutting off distractions so you can hear your own thoughts again. It's about letting go of toxic relationships so you can finally grow. It's about silence, the kind that hurts at first, but eventually sets you free. It's about waking up at 5 a.m., not because it looks good on Instagram, but because your future needs you now more than ever. It's about saying no to what's comfortable and yes to what's calling you, even if nobody claps for you along the way. Because the truth is, the path to winning is lonely. Not because people don't care, but because you're the only one who truly knows what you're capable of, until you show them why this message matters now. We are drowning in distractions. Endless scrolling, fake urgency, external validation. Every app is fighting for your attention. Every voice is telling you what to do. Every like gives you a false sense of momentum. But behind the screens, behind the smiles, behind the polished updates, so many people are silently suffering. Living lives they never chose. Waking up tired of who they've become. This book is your interruption, your pause, your wake-up call. Because at some point, if you don't make time to focus on yourself, you will lose yourself, and no one will notice, except you. What it takes to win winning is not about luck. It's not about talent. It's about focus. Ruthless, disciplined, lonely focus. You're going to learn how to walk away from people who drain you without guilt. Build a daily routine that builds you back. Heal the emotional wounds you've been hiding behind. Let go of the noise and start making real progress. Become your own motivation. Even when it's hard, even when it's quiet, you don't need more hype. You need more truth. What you'll face along the way. This isn't going to be easy. You'll be tempted to go back, to old habits, to comfort zones, to people who only loved you when you were small. You'll battle loneliness, doubt, the need to explain yourself. But every chapter in this book is a step forward. Every page is a fight for your future. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to be real. One rule. Before we begin, from this moment on, your focus is you, not them. Not the past, not the judgment, not the noise. Just you, your body, your mind, your routines, your energy, your standards, your dreams. You are the project. You are allowed to say, I'm unavailable for anything that drains me. I'm building. I don't need to explain. I'm not done. I'm just getting started. This isn't selfish. This is sacred. One last thing. If you've been feeling lost, if you've been playing small, if you've been doubting your worth, this book is going to remind you who you are, not with hype, not with ego, but with clarity, discipline, and inner fire. So, let's begin the journey. Chapter 1 starts where all real change begins, the day you finally say, enough. Chapter 1, the day you decide it's enough. There's a silence that falls right before a major shift. Not the kind of silence that comes from peace, but the kind that comes after you've cried so hard, screamed so long, and tried so much that you finally run out of noise. That's when it happens. You don't yell it. You don't even say it out loud. You just feel it deep in your bones. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. This is not my life. And in that moment, no matter how broken or confused or tired you feel, you just made the most powerful decision of your life. You decided to change. Rock bottom isn't the end. It's the beginning. People think transformation starts with motivation. It doesn't. It starts with disgust, not the toxic kind, but the kind that says, I refuse to live one more day pretending this is okay. Maybe you've been there. The job that drains your soul, the relationship that suffocates your worth, the fake smile that hides how empty you feel, the endless scrolling, sleeping late, starting over, again and again, with no traction, no fire. You look in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back. Your ambition? Dull. Your energy? Gone. Your dreams? Faded into background noise. But then it hits you. Not in some dramatic movie scene, but in the quiet. You whisper, I was made for more than this. And just like that, you rise. The moment you draw the line. This chapter isn't about action yet. It's about decision, the inner shift, the line in the sand. Because until you get angry enough, honest enough, and desperate enough to say, I won't tolerate this version of myself anymore, nothing truly changes. Let's be real. Change doesn't come from feeling inspired. It comes when the pain of staying the same becomes louder than the fear of what's next. Let that sink in. Most people don't change because they're still more afraid of the unknown than they are of living a lie. You, on the other hand, you're different now. You've reached the threshold, the inner breaking point, where survival isn't just about food and shelter, it's about soul preservation. You've seen who you've become by giving your energy to everything but yourself. And now you've decided, I'm reclaiming my life. One day, one habit, one breath at a time. What this chapter asks of you, it asks you to tell the truth, not to others, to yourself. Are you living or just performing? Are you building or just pretending? Are you choosing growth or clinging to comfort? No more sugarcoating, no more excuses. This is your call to radical honesty. Write it down. Say it out loud. Etch it into your heart. This version of me is expired. I am not going back. Identity. Motivation. Here's something most self-help books won't tell you. Motivation fades. Willpower breaks. But identity? That sticks. This chapter is where you break the identity of the old you. The people pleaser, the procrastinator, the victim, the numb, tired, scrolling version of yourself. The one who starts over every Monday and quits by Thursday. You don't need more goals. You need to become the person who doesn't break their own word. Because the day you decide to be that person, the one who keeps promises in private, you've already started to win. Key shift. From emotion to execution, you're going to feel a lot in this process. Grief, guilt, regret, excitement, fire, fear. Let it come. Feel it all. But don't get stuck there. Because this book isn't about feeling better. It's about being better. And that means shifting from, I feel like it. I said I would. I'm overwhelmed. What's one thing I can control today? I'm not ready. Let's go anyway. You're not waiting for the perfect morning anymore. You're building it. Sweat, silence, and self-respect. The mirror. Moment. Every powerful story begins with one moment. The protagonist sees themselves clearly, not through someone else's praise, not through a paycheck, not through a title or a trend, but in silence. When no one's watching, when they realize, I've been giving away my power. And from that point forward, they change. This is your moment. Stare into that mirror, metaphorical or real, and say it. I'm not mad at who I've been, but I refuse to stay here. That's not weakness, that's self-leadership. A real talk summary. Let's be blunt, you don't need a better. Alarm clock, another productivity hack, a vision board with beach mansions and six-pack abs. You need one thing, A decision that holds. No more wasting time. No more letting my emotions run the show. No more chasing people who aren't chasing themselves. No more pretending I don't know what I'm capable of. This isn't the start of your story. This is the rewrite. One question to end this chapter. If I truly believed I was meant for more, what would I stop tolerating today? Answer. That, write it down, live it out. Because the truth is, you already know what needs to change. Now it's time to act like it. Chapter 2. Stop chasing people. Start building yourself. Some lessons don't come with a warning. They come as a heartbreak, a silence, a phone that stops ringing, a person who slowly fades or walks away without ever turning back. And it's in those moments, those brutal, quiet moments, that life teaches you. You've been chasing people more than you've been building yourself. The cost of chasing people, it starts small. You accommodate. You adjust. You overgive. You shrink. You silence your needs so they'll stay. You downplay your dreams so they won't feel threatened. You trade your time for crumbs of attention, and you call it connection. But deep down, you know.
You've been editing yourself for people who wouldn't even read the unfiltered version of you. It's not just about romance. It's in friendships, family, jobs, anywhere you feel like you have to prove your worth just to be tolerated. And
the worst part? You forget what it feels like to belong to yourself. Why we do it. Let's get real. You chase people because of one deep-rooted fear. If I stop giving, I'll stop mattering. Maybe you grew up learning love was conditional. Maybe being needed was the only way you ever felt important. Maybe you confuse effort with value, as if your existence has to be earned. So you chase their attention, their approval, their validation, their permission to feel good about yourself. But here's the truth that hurts before it heals. The more you chase others, the further you run from yourself. And eventually, you look in the mirror and realize you've become a stranger to your own power. A core truth: you don't lose people, you lose illusions. Let that land. You didn't lose them. You lost the idea of them. You lost the potential you imagined. You lost the role they played in your identity. But people don't leave your life by accident. They leave to clear the space for your evolution. And every time you stop chasing someone who wasn't choosing you, you reclaim a piece of yourself. What chasing looks like, even when it's subtle, let's break it down. Chasing isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like sending a just checking in text to someone who ghosted you, waiting for their reaction before you post or speak, holding back your success so they won't feel left behind, making excuses for their lack of effort, replaying conversations to figure out what you did wrong, saying yes when your soul is screaming no. It's the emotional equivalent of begging to be chosen by someone who already showed you they're not choosing themselves. The shift from external validation to inner construction. Now, here's where it gets powerful. You don't stop chasing by becoming cold. You stop by becoming clear. Clear on your worth. Clear on your boundaries. Clear on your mission. You start building, not a wall, but a foundation. And that foundation is made of self-respect, emotional independence, relentless inner work, daily habits that build you back, because when you're focused on building yourself, you don't have time to chase people. You're not waiting for their call. You're working on your craft. You're not wondering if they like you. You're learning to love you. You're not begging for closure. You're giving yourself peace. The construction process. Let's talk about building yourself and practically. It starts with audit. Who am I giving energy to that isn't pouring back? Boundaries. Where do I say yes out of fear instead of power? Habits. What routines reinforce self-respect, not self-neglect? Environment. Who around me challenges me to grow? This isn't about cutting everyone off. It's about cutting the pattern of abandoning yourself. Because here's the secret. The people you attract when you're whole will never ask you to shrink. When you build, they notice, let's be honest. When you stop chasing, a few things happen. Some people get uncomfortable. Some disappear. Some try to guilt you for changing. Some come back, confused, curious, even threatened. But here's the difference. You're no longer available for low effort, one-sided energy. You don't need revenge. You don't need to explain. You just keep building. And in time, you'll realize the ones who stayed were aligned, the ones who left were necessary, and the one you became, unstoppable. A word on loneliness. Yes, it'll feel lonely at first. You'll miss the people you used to chase. You'll miss the noise, the distraction, even the drama. You'll wonder if you're doing the right thing. But then something shifts. You'll wake up one day and feel calm. No need to check your phone. No anxiety about being ignored. No shame for being yourself. Just presence, peace, power. That's what it feels like to belong to you. One question that changes everything. If I stopped chasing them, what could I finally build? Maybe it's your body. Maybe it's your business. Maybe it's your peace, your healing, your art, your confidence. Whatever it is, it's waiting for you. But it needs your full energy, your full commitment, your full attention, and it begins when you stop chasing what doesn't nourish your future. Close the chapter with this declaration. Say it, write it, mean it. I release anyone I had to chase to keep. I choose myself now, and that's more than enough.
Chapter 3. Starve your distractions. Feed your discipline. Let's not sugarcoat it. We live in the most distracted generation in human history. A world where the average person picks up their phone over 100 times a day and can barely sit with
their own thoughts for longer than 30 seconds without reaching for a screen. And it's not an accident. You're not lazy. You're overstimulated. And worse, you're surrounded by systems designed to keep you distracted, because distracted people don't build. Distracted people consume. Distracted people conform. Distracted people don't evolve. If you want to win in this life, truly win, you have to do something that's now considered radical. Take back control of your mind. The dopamine hijack every ping. Every scroll, every click, it gives you a hit, a microdose of dopamine. And that tiny rush, it's addicting. But over time, it trains your brain to crave constant stimulation while rejecting the hard, quiet work of real growth. That's why it feels easier to watch another YouTube video than go to the gym, text your ex, then sit with your feelings, check TikTok, then build your business, scroll through someone else's life, rather than fix your own. Distraction doesn't feel like destruction, but it is. Every time you choose the short-term hit, you trade long-term fulfillment. The real enemy isn't your phone. Let's be real. The phone's not the problem. It's your attachment to distraction, because distraction keeps you numb. It saves you from facing your truth. It's easier to be busy than to be honest. Honest about the habits you keep breaking, the goals you're afraid to chase, the loneliness you mask with noise, the pain you refuse to heal, the dream you abandoned because it got hard. The scroll is comfort, the binge is escape. The noise is a drug. But here's the wake-up call. Every distraction you feed is energy you steal from your future. What discipline really means. Discipline isn't punishment. It's power. It's freedom. It's you saying, I run my day. My day doesn't run me. I do hard things not because I want to, but because I'm worth it. I can delay gratification because I believe in what I'm building. Discipline is showing up when no one's clapping. It's going to the gym when it's raining. It's writing the page no one will read yet. It's eating clean while others mock your effort. It's working your craft in silence. It's not sexy. It's not viral. But it's the difference between dreamers and doers. Build the routine. Kill the excuses. You don't rise with motivation. You rise with systems. So ask yourself, what time do I wake up? What distractions do I eliminate before noon? What 3 habits define my non-negotiables? What does my focus block look like daily? Where does my phone go during my deep work? Your brain needs structure to thrive. Your body needs consistency. Your soul needs silence to speak. You're not unfocused. You're unstructured. Fix the system, and your life recalibrates. Cut the noise. Cold sometimes growth isn't about adding more. It's about removing. Delete the app. Block the site. Say no to the hangout. Turn off the notifications. Put your phone in the other room. Leave the group chat. Why? Because your mission can't afford to be micromanaged by distractions. 1 hour of deep work is worth 10 hours of multitask nonsense, so protect your focus like your life depends on it. Because it does. Identify the triggers. Here's the hard part. Your distractions aren't random. They're coping mechanisms. Every time you scroll mindlessly, binge, or check in on drama, you're avoiding something. Ask yourself, what am I trying not to feel? What am I avoiding? By distracting myself? Where in my life am I bored, afraid, insecure, or unfulfilled? Find the emotional trigger, and you take away the distraction's power. Starve the distractions, feed the discipline. Here's your new code. Identify 3 biggest distractions. Be honest. Phone, Netflix, gossip, porn, junk food, drama. Cut them cold for 7 days. Not cut back. Cut. Cold. Withdraw like it's a drug. Because it is. Replace them with focused energy. Set alarms. Build routines. Track your wins. Stay accountable. Build momentum. Then protect it. Your discipline is fragile at first. Guard it like a newborn fire. The first 3 hours rule. Want to master your day? Master the first 3 hours. Your brain is sharpest in the morning. So what you do before noon either builds your empire or buries it in nonsense. Wake up early. No phone for the first hour. Move your body. Fuel with intention. Get 1 deep work session in before distractions try to find you. That's how you win the day and the future. What happens? When you feed your discipline, you change. Not overnight, but you change deeply. You walk taller. You talk clearer. You stop apologizing for your standards. You feel something strange. Peace. And people will notice. They'll say, you seem more focused. You've been distant. You're acting different. Good. You are. Because you've stopped living for approval and started living for alignment. Close this chapter with truth. Let this be your reminder. Distraction is easy, discipline is rare, but my goals don't care how I feel, they care how I show up. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be present, and that means being more committed to your future than addicted to your comfort. Chapter 4, Heal Before You Hustle. You can have the perfect morning routine, a cold plunge, a gym schedule, an optimized calendar, a business plan, a killer work ethic, and still sabotage everything. Why? Because there's a version of you still, living in pain, unseen, unheard, unhealed. You hustle hard during the day, but at night, the loneliness creeps in. You keep moving fast, because you're afraid of what might surface if you slow down. Healing is not weakness. It's your foundation, and if you don't face it, you'll keep building towers on cracked concrete and wonder why they collapse. Hustle can hide. Let's talk real for a moment. Many people look disciplined, but they're just avoiding their pain with productivity. Work becomes their drug. The grind becomes their identity. Success becomes their therapy. They don't pause. They don't rest. They don't feel. Because slowing down would force them to face the heartbreak they never processed, the father they still want approval from, the betrayal that hardened their heart, the dreams they buried under survival mode, the shame they wear like armor. And so they chase milestones hoping to outrun their wounds. But hear this loud, you cannot out-hustle what you haven't healed. Emotional debt, what you ignore, will collect. Interest pain that isn't processed doesn't disappear, it mutates. Into overthinking, people-pleasing, toxic independence, constant proving. Quick tempers, numbness, avoidance disguised as focus, you think you've moved on. But one trigger, one text, one failure, one rejection, and it all comes back. Because healing isn't just about getting over it. It's about reclaiming the parts of you that got stuck in survival. Healing is self-respect. Let's be clear. Healing isn't about sitting around feeling sorry for yourself. It's not about blaming others forever. It's not about being soft. Healing is owning your story, confronting your habits, forgiving the version of you who didn't know better, letting go of bitterness so it doesn't poison your future. It's choosing to break the cycle so your future self doesn't bleed for your past pain. That's not weakness. That's war. What real healing looks like, it's not pretty, it's not linear, but it's real. Sometimes healing looks like crying in your car at 2 a.m., then going home and journaling instead of calling your ex, sitting in silence and letting the memories come up, instead of distracting yourself saying no without explaining. Yourself setting boundaries that shake people, feeling the fear of abandonment, and still choosing solitude, admitting that some of your pain is self-inflicted, and changing the pattern. It's not easy, but it's everything. The healing practice. Let's get practical. Here are 5 healing practices to build into your journey. Stillness. Sit in silence for 10-15 minutes daily. No phone, no music. Let your thoughts come. Let them pass. Journaling. Write down your feelings, raw, unfiltered. Get the pain out of your body and onto paper. Forgiveness. Work. Write letters you don't send. Say what you need to say. To them, to yourself. Inner child check-ins. Ask, what does the younger me need to hear today? Often it's, you are enough. I'm proud of you. You're safe now. Movement. Walk, stretch, lift, move emotion. Through your body. Trauma lives in your muscles, not just your mind. Hustle without healing. Burnout, you will get tired, but you won't just feel physically exhausted. You'll feel spiritually heavy. Why? Because when you hustle from pain, not purpose, you begin to resent the very life you're building. You'll start asking, why doesn't this feel good? Why am I still empty? Why does success feel like a burden? Because success earned through self-abandonment doesn't feel like victory. It feels like betrayal, and that's why healing before you hustle isn't optional. It's survival. One truth most hustlers won't admit. I work so hard because I don't feel like I'm enough without results. Sit with that. So much of your grind may be rooted in a fear that you're only worthy if you're achieving. But the truth is, you are not your productivity. You are not your follower count. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are a human being learning to rise. Again, not perfectly, but intentionally. When you heal, everything changes. Here's what happens after healing begins. You don't chase validation. You walk in wholeness. You don't beg for peace. You become it. You stop needing loud wins. Quiet progress is enough. You forgive people without needing them back. You focus on your lane because comparison dies in the presence of self-worth. And most of all, you stop fearing silence. Because it no longer reminds you of your pain. It reminds you of your power. End with this affirmation. Write this. Speak it. Live it. I am healing. I am not behind. I am not broken. I do not need to prove my worth through exhaustion. I am building something new, and I choose to build it with peace, not pain. Chapter 5. Solitude is sacred. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness is empty. It aches. It whispers, you're not enough without someone. But solitude is power. It's healing. It's the moment. You stop reaching outward and start listening inward. Because here's the truth. The strongest version of you will never be born in a crowd. It will be built in silence. Why most people avoid solitude. Let's be honest. Solitude scares people. Not because they hate being alone, but because they hate what rises up in the silence when it's quiet. You can hear everything you've been avoiding. The self-doubt, the fear, the regrets, the shame, the unmet dreams, the inner child crying out for safety. So we drown it all in noise, music, people, scrolling, TV, parties, conversations that go nowhere. But deep down, you've been using company as a distraction, connection as a coping mechanism, and noise as a mask. The shift, alone, unworthy. There's a lie that says, if you're alone, something must be wrong with you. No. If you're brave enough to be alone, you're ahead of 90% of people already. Because most of them, they'd rather stay in toxic situations, fake friendships, and half love than sit in silence and face themselves. You're doing the opposite. You're choosing solitude not as punishment, but as a sacred place of self-rebuilding, and that makes you dangerous. In the best way. Solitude is where your foundation is built. It's where you hear your real thoughts without interference. Discover what you actually want, not what others expect. Learn how to comfort yourself without begging for someone else's presence. Create without comparison. Train your discipline without needing to. Be seen, break the addiction to attention, validation, and emotional outsourcing. It's where your identity becomes solid. Because if your confidence only exists in a crowd, it's not real confidence, it's performance. Solitude practices that strengthen you. Let's get practical. Here are 5 solitude practices that actually empower you. Morning stillness, 15-30 min. No phone. No people. Just you, your thoughts, and a journal or your breath. Ask, what do I need to hear today that no one else can say? Solo dates. Go out alone. A coffee shop, a museum, a walk in the park. Not to isolate, but to reclaim joy without needing someone to provide it. Creative. Flow time. 1 hour a day to create something. Art, writing, music, design, strategy. Build something that isn't about likes. It's about soul. Phone-free evenings. 1 night a week, go full digital detox. Candlelight. Books, thinking, real rest. Get reconnected with your mind. End of week reflection. Ask, what drained me this week? What restored me? Where did I abandon myself to please others? Solitude turns from loneliness to peace. When you learn to enjoy your own presence, what happens when you embrace solitude? You stop settling. For real. You no longer chase half-hearted conversations. You no longer beg people to understand you. You no longer need crowds to feel seen, because you see yourself, you validate yourself, you entertain yourself, you lead yourself, and that makes you magnetic. Because nothing is more powerful than a person who can walk into a room with nothing to prove, and everything already built inside. The solitude seasons. Solitude isn't forever, but it is necessary. It's the season before the spotlight, the quiet before the harvest, the cocoon before the wings. And if you skip this season, if you rush back to noise and approval and busyness, you'll never hear the voice that matters most, your own. Because in solitude, your inner compass gets clear. And when you come out of that season, you'll walk different, talk different, decide faster, love wiser, focus deeper. Because now, you know who you are, without needing anyone else to confirm it. Say this before you close this chapter. I no longer fear being alone. I honor this season of silence. I trust what I'm building in private. My solitude is not a punishment, it's preparation. Chapter 6. Build in silence. Let the results talk. There's a strange point in your journey where progress feels invisible. You're doing the work. You're cutting off distractions. You're building discipline. You're healing. And yet, no one's clapping. No one's checking in. No one's posting about your growth. The results? Still cooking. And here's the harsh truth most won't admit. This part, the quiet grind, is where most people quit. Not because they can't do the work, but because they can't handle the lack of validation. Why you must learn. To work unseen, let's get real. We've been trained to equate visibility with value. We think, if it's not posted, it didn't happen. If people aren't watching, it doesn't matter. If I'm not being recognized, I must be behind. But that's not how real success is built. Success is built in basements, in notebooks, in quiet rooms with no followers watching, in early mornings and late nights when nobody sees the hours, but the results are coming anyway. Train like no one's watching, so one day you move like no one can match you. Keep your goals sacred. Not everything needs to be shared. Not every plan deserves to be posted. Not every win needs an audience. Why? Because talking too soon can kill momentum. Studies show when we announce goals publicly, we often feel premature satisfaction, tricking our brains into thinking we've already achieved something. So here's your new mindset. Let them wonder. Let them assume. Let them sleep on you. You don't owe anyone an update. You owe your future self results. Work until they ask if you're okay, because you disappeared to grind. They laugh at your boundaries until they see your peace. They forget your name, then see it trending. They call your silence arrogance, or until they realize it was focus. They come back shocked, not by what you said, but by what you became. Because that's the thing about real ones. They don't need to talk. They transform, then walk into rooms different, building in silence. Building in power. When you build without noise, you make decisions based on alignment, not applause. You reduce pressure, increase presence. You protect your process from critics who don't understand your vision. You stay grounded, not performative. You fall in love with the work, not the praise. This isn't hiding. This is incubation. Like roots growing underground before a tree ever breaks the surface. Like an athlete training off-season. Like a genius in a lab, failing 99 times for that one breakthrough. Quiet is where champions are made. What silence will test. Let's be honest. Silence will test you, hard. You'll question, is this even working? Am I wasting my time? Why is no one noticing? Should I post this to feel progress? This is where many fold. They crave dopamine over discipline. They mistake loneliness for lack. They need an audience to feel real. But you are built different. Because you know, validation is sweet, but freedom is better. The 4 laws of building in silence. Let's lock it in. Protect the vision. Keep your dreams sacred. Not everything needs explaining. Some things need nurturing. Track privately. Execute publicly. Post the outcome, not the process. Let your work be louder than your words. Delay gratification. Choose the long-term win over short-term attention. Silence is temporary. Legacy is forever. Fall in love with the mundane, repeat. Improve. Master the unsexy. Consistency is the ultimate flex. What to do when doubt creeps in? Because it will. You'll see others posting wins, celebrating followers, showing off what looks like success. You'll be tempted to compare, rush quit brag prematurely. But that's when you breathe and say, let them run fast, I'm building deep, let them sprint, let them show off. You're digging roots. And when your season hits, you'll rise without noise and stand firm when others fall. Your work speaks louder than you ever could. You don't need to say, I've been working on myself. I cut off distractions. I've changed. Your habits will say it. Your boundaries will say it. Your glow will say it. Your results will say it. Let your silence be your shield. Let your execution be your megaphone. Speak this into existence. I don't need attention to feel valuable. I don't need noise to feel progress. I'm not here to prove, I'm here to build. When the time is right, my work will speak louder than I ever could. Chapter 7. The world rewards the focused. Look around. The people rising the fastest, they're not the flashiest, they're not the loudest, they're not even the most talented, they're the most focused. In a generation addicted to noise, the rarest superpower is deep, sustained, obsessive focus. When you master that, the world has no choice but to watch. Focus is a superpower in a distracted world. Most people can't focus for longer than 20 seconds without reaching for something. A screen, a snack, a scroll. Their attention span is scattered. Their energy is divided. Their goals, fuzzy at best. But you're waking up. You're sharpening your mind. You're saying, I'm done being average at everything. I'm going to be dangerous at something because the world doesn't reward dabblers. It rewards people who pick a lane and own it. Energy leaks. The death of focus. Here's what's killing your focus. Constant multitasking, checking your phone every 5 minutes, saying yes to everything and everyone, spreading yourself thin. Across 12 priorities, doing things just to look busy, staying stuck in relationships that emotionally drain you, thinking about what others think more than what you need. Every one of those is an energy leak, and energy leaks kill momentum. You're not tired because you're doing too much. You're tired because you're doing too much that doesn't matter. Get obsessed. Get ruthless. Here's a mindset shift. You don't need balance right now. You need alignment. The idea that you need to do everything is a lie. The truth? You can do anything, but not if you're trying to do everything. So it's time to cut the fluff, trim the list, pick the one thing that moves the needle. Whether it's your health, business, art, career, skill, go all in. Be unapologetic about your tunnel vision. Lock in, like it's war. This is what locking in looks like. Waking up with clarity, not confusion. Building rituals that reinforce your purpose. Saying no without guilt planning. You're weak, like a CEO protecting your mornings, like sacred time, scheduling deep work blocks, creating even when it's boring. Training your mind like an athlete trains their body. When your focus becomes unbreakable, so does your potential. Eliminate. Don't add growth isn't about doing more. It's about doing less but better. So ask yourself, what are 3 habits draining me daily? What distractions steal my mornings? What people don't belong in this chapter of my life? What goals are shoulds, not musts? Cut ruthlessly, because every no you say to distraction is a yes to your future. Build focus. Like a muscle, you're not born with elite focus. You build it. Here's how. Deep work blocks. 60-90-minute sessions. No phone. 1 task. Full immersion. Daily intentions. Write down the 3 most important things and do them first. Meditation or breath work. Train your mind to sit in silence. Focus. Grows in stillness. Weekly reviews. What worked? What drained you? What's your priority next week? Sleep and nutrition. A foggy brain can't focus. Protect your health. It's your performance engine. This isn't a productivity hack. This is a mindset, a lifestyle, a commitment to mastery. What happens when you truly lock in you? Stop caring about competition because you've outworked them. You stop chasing validation. Your focus is louder than their opinions. You stop explaining yourself because results don't need permission. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You become the person people can't ignore. Focus builds momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence builds inevitability. You're no longer trying. You're becoming. You owe this to your future. Let's not forget why you started this journey. You're not here to be remembered as promising. You're not here to impress. You're here to impact. You're not here to chase likes. You're here to build legacy. And that requires you to say, for the next 6 to 12 months, I'm locking in. I'll sacrifice comfort. I'll be misunderstood. I'll walk alone if I have to. But I will not break focus. Because my future is watching. And this chapter, with this declaration. I don't need more motivation. I need fewer distractions. I'm done leaking energy on things that don't align. I choose ruthless clarity. I choose unstoppable focus. I choose results. Chapter 8. Win first internally. There's a voice inside you. You hear it every day. Maybe you've even ignored it for so long, you don't realize how loud it is. It says, who do you think you are? You'll never stick with it. I always mess this up. You're behind. You're not ready. That voice, it's not truth. It's programming, old beliefs, unprocessed pain, conditioned patterns that were passed to you from childhood, trauma, society, or failure. And if you don't confront that voice, you'll keep building your life on internal sabotage. External success can't fix internal self-sabotage. Let's say you do everything right. Wake up at 5 a.m., read books, work out, grind 12 hours a day, make money, gain attention. But deep down, you still believe you're not worthy, not enough, not capable. You'll either burn it all down, chase more to fill the emptiness, live in constant anxiety, fearing you'll lose it all. Why? Because the outside can't fix what's broken inside. You can't build peace on a battlefield. You have to win that war internally. Reprogramming your inner voice. You were not born insecure. You were programmed to be. So let's break that down. Here's how reprogramming begins. Awareness. Start catching your thoughts. Journal them. Ask, would I say this to a child I love? If not, it doesn't belong in your mind. Pattern recognition. Trace it back. Where did this belief come from? Was it a parent, a teacher, a heartbreak, a loss, a failure? Challenge the lie. When the thought comes, pause and say, that's a story, not a sentence. Replace it with identity. Speak your truth out loud, every day. I am focused, I am capable, I am evolving, I am enough, even when I'm still becoming. Identity habits. Most people try to fix their life by fixing behavior, but behavior follows belief. If you believe you're undisciplined, not creative, always failing, too late to start, then your actions will mirror that. But when your identity shifts, your habits follow. That's why instead of saying, I'm trying to, wake up early. Say, I'm someone who protects my mornings. I'm learning to focus, and say, I'm built for deep work. I'm starting over again. Say, I'm rewriting the blueprint with power. Who you believe you are is more important than what you do, because your beliefs become your ceiling or your launch pad. Build an inner standard. Let's talk standards. If your standards are external, how people treat you, what results you get, you'll constantly feel off balance. But when your standards are internal, you become unstoppable. I don't lie to myself. I don't shrink for comfort. I don't quit just because it's hard. I don't chase. I attract through alignment. I don't need to prove. I need to stay consistent. This is what it means to win first inside, because once your internal world is solid, no external chaos can knock you off center. Confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself. Forget hype. Forget faking it. Forget external validation. Confidence is built one way. Keep your word in private. Wake up when you said you would. Move your body when you're tired. Stick to your routine when no one's watching. Do the reps. Make the call. Follow through. Not to prove to the world, but to prove to yourself. I do what I say I'll do. That's where true confidence comes from. And it's unshakable. Internal wins that no one sees. Let's name some of them. Walking away from a toxic friend without a fight, journaling instead of texting your ex saying no, without over-explaining, setting a boundary and holding it, apologizing, without shame forgiving yourself, meditating through the storm instead of reacting. These are silent victories. They don't trend, but they transform. Align your self-talk with your future. Speak not from where you are, but from where you're going every day. Say, I'm becoming the kind of person who doesn't need reminders to be excellent. I am the solution to my own problems. I am building someone my future will thank me for. I don't shrink anymore. I rise. This is reprogramming in action. This is how you win before anyone else sees it. Close this chapter. With this declaration, I no longer wait for outside results to feel worthy. I win first internally by keeping my word, rewriting my thoughts, and becoming the version of me that doesn't flinch under pressure. I lead myself from within. and from now on, I speak to myself like someone I refuse to give up on. Chapter 9. Your future is not a debate. There comes a point in your journey where you stop asking, "Can I really do this?" and you start saying, "It's already mine. I'm just becoming the person who can hold it." That moment is powerful, but it only comes after one hard realization. You've been negotiating with your potential, watering yourself down, waiting for someone to co-sign your dreams, playing small so you won't be too much, toning it down so you don't trigger the insecure, holding back because you're afraid of being misunderstood, but not anymore. Stop asking for permission. To evolve, you don't need approval to change. You don't need votes to grow. You don't need applause to evolve. You were not put on this earth to convince people who stopped growing why you're no longer interested in staying the same. So let this be clear. Your healing is not up for debate. Your boundaries are not up for negotiation. Your goals are not up for group discussion. You're not arrogant. You're focused. You're not distant. You're building. You're not rude. You're aligned. Build quietly. Move boldly. At this point in the journey, you're not just trying anymore. You're transforming, daily, intentionally, relentlessly. So stop shrinking into rooms you've outgrown. Stop waiting to be chosen. You don't need to be picked. You choose yourself. You move like someone who knows the future is already written, and your only job is to walk it out, not loudly, not desperately, but with quiet conviction. Self-belief is not delusion, it's strategy. Let's be clear. Believing in yourself isn't about being blindly optimistic. It's about refusing to keep betraying yourself with doubt. You know what it takes. You know how long you've suffered to get here. You've burned bridges with your old self. You've buried bad habits. You've cut off distractions. You've built discipline from the ground up. So what now? Now you act like your future is inevitable, because it is. Stop arguing with people who don't even understand the assignment. You don't need to explain your solitude, your priorities, your early mornings, your hard no, your healing, your distance from gossip, your new standards. Let them wonder. They don't get it because they're not supposed to. Your journey isn't about getting validation from people who were never called to carry your vision. Don't waste divine energy on small conversations. Outgrow, don't out-argue, outgrow the friend who only calls when you're slipping. Outgrow the ex who texts, "I miss you," when they see you rising. Outgrow the critic who only claps when you're broken. Outgrow the version of you that needed everyone to agree before moving. You're not here to convince. You're here to become. Let go of the need to be liked. Let's be real. Some people liked you better when you were more available, easier to manipulate, less focused, less confident, more reactive, more wounded, more normal. But that version of you is gone. And the version you're becoming, that person isn't liked by everyone, but they're respected by the future. What it really means to take ownership. Taking ownership means you stop blaming, you stop explaining, you stop apologizing for your evolution. It means you say, if this fails, I'll rebuild it. If I'm misunderstood, I'll stay centered. If I outgrow everyone around me, I'll walk alone, because I know where I'm going, and I'm not turning around to debate it. That's leadership. That's ownership. That's focus. Speak. Like the future is already yours every day. Declare, I no longer chase. I attract through alignment. I don't argue with small minds about big visions. I'm not in competition, I'm in purpose. I don't need to prove. I need to execute. I trust my focus. I trust my work. I trust my becoming. End. With this declaration, I am no longer negotiating with doubt, fear, or the past. My future is non-negotiable. I don't need permission. I don't need applause. I don't need agreement. I choose myself. I believe in what I'm building, and I refuse to stop until I win. Chapter 10. This is just the beginning. You made it here. Not by luck, not by accident, but by deciding at some point, in some quiet, private moment, that you were done living small. And that one decision, it changed everything. This chapter, is a reminder of what you've already survived, what you've already overcome, and what's now possible because of the new foundation you've built. Let's break it down. You rebuilt yourself. From the inside out, go back to chapter 1. Remember that version of you? Tired, doubting, distracted, hurt, confused, hue and cry for more, but unsure where to start. That version of you wasn't weak. They were brave enough to begin. And look at you now. You've chosen peace over people-pleasing, found strength in solitude-built structure and standards, quieted the noise, learned to love discipline, created boundaries that protect your soul, reprogrammed how you see yourself, and you did it without applause, without hand-holding, without shortcuts. That's not just a glow-up. That's a rebirth. Now you build. For real, you've laid the foundation. Now comes the next phase. Execution. Expansion, elevation, because this story doesn't end with healing and focus. It begins there. You now protect your energy like currency. Choose your circle like your life depends on it. Guard your mornings. Feed your body with intention. Choose presence over validation. Follow through without needing motivation lock. And without letting up, and you're not doing it for likes. You're doing it because you remember who you are. Stop seeking motivation. Become the motivation. There are people watching you. They don't say it out loud, but they notice. They've seen the shift. They've felt the distance. They've sensed your energy change, and deep down they're wondering, what happened to them? Here's the answer. They chose themselves, fully, finally, fiercely, and in doing so, you became a walking permission slip for everyone else to do the same. Your life is now the evidence that it's possible. Rise without noise. Don't make noise. Make moves. Let your health speak. Let your bank account speak. Let your calm speak. Let your peace speak. Let your boundaries speak. Let your discipline speak. Let your glow speak. When people see you now, they'll feel something different. Not louder, not flashier, just undeniable. Legacy over. Ego, you've outgrown the need to prove. You're here to build legacy, not popularity. Legacy means showing up even when no one claps, training the mind, when no one notices, loving without losing yourself. Living by standards, not reactions, leaving behind a version of you that others remember by how you made them feel. You don't need to be known by millions. You need to be respected by the version of you that did the work when no one was watching. You're not behind, you're rebuilding. If you ever feel late, if you ever feel like you're starting over, remember this, you're not behind. You're right on time for the most powerful season of your life. There's no clock on growth. There's no deadline on becoming. There's only right now, and what you choose to do with it. So stop looking back. Stop looking sideways. Your path is forward. Your power is present. Your future is waiting. Final words. This isn't a self-help book. It's a mirror. And it's been trying to tell you, you were never broken. You were buried under distraction, doubt, and noise. But you were always the answer. You just had to come home to yourself. And now you have. You're not chasing anymore. You're not waiting anymore. You're not explaining anymore. You're focused. You're ready. You're rising. And this is just the beginning. Close with this final declaration. I will no longer betray myself for comfort, approval, or fear. I am locked in. I am aligned. I am building a future with my name on it, and I refuse to stop until I win. Final reflection. What you just walked through wasn't a collection of motivational quotes or surface-level self-help. It was a full-circle transformation, from pain to purpose, from distraction to discipline, from emotional chaos to inner command. This book wasn't just telling you to change, it walked you into the fire of becoming, and by the final page, you emerged forged. Let's break down the emotional, psychological, and spiritual core of what Focus on You Until You Win is really about. Central message at its heart. This book teaches one powerful truth. Self-focus is not selfish, it's survival. Because when you stop chasing people, distractions, and the need to be understood, you finally have the space to become. And that becoming is what creates freedom, peace, and ultimately, the results you've always wanted, not just in your career, your health, or your bank account, but in your spirit. Key themes and motifs. 1. Radical self-honesty. You can't fake healing. You can't fake growth. The book forces you to get uncomfortable with the lies you've been telling yourself about your worth, your discipline, your patterns, and your identity. That's where transformation starts. Not with a how-to, but with a mirror. Solitude as strength. The book reframes solitude from a space of pain to a sacred training ground. Where others seek noise to feel alive, you learn to listen to silence to become powerful, because real growth happens when no one's watching. Discipline is a form of self-love. This isn't grind culture. This is about showing up for yourself consistently because you finally believe you're worth it. You realize waking up early isn't punishment, it's protection. Saying no isn't rude, it's revolutionary. Building quietly isn't weakness, it's wisdom. 4. Identity over habit. The book dives deep into mindset reprogramming. Change your beliefs and the habits follow. Change how you see yourself and the world mirrors it. Because the version of you who keeps promises in private becomes unshakable in public. Legacy over ego. This book strips away the shallow pursuit of likes, status, and image. You're not building to impress, you're building to impact. Legacy is about emotional maturity, mental clarity, long-term peace leading by example, not explanation. You become someone future generations look up to, not for what you had, but for what you held together. Emotional journey. Here's what the emotional arc of the book looks like. Rock bottom. I can't live like this anymore. Self-audit. I'm the problem, but I'm also the solution. Isolation. I need to be alone to rebuild. Discipline. Let's make small promises and keep them. Healing. I don't have to carry this pain forever. Focus. I'm choosing alignment, not approval. Identity. I'm already becoming who I was meant to be. Conviction. This isn't a phase. This is the real me. Rebirth. This is just the beginning. Philosophical and cultural insight. This book is a quiet rebellion against a culture obsessed with constant noise, a society that rewards surface over substance, a world that confuses visibility with value, and instead it offers a new path: silence, clarity, self-respect, focus, legacy. It doesn't ask you to shout louder. It asks you to stand still and watch how the world begins to adjust around you. Timeless lessons. Let's leave you with the deepest insights this journey offers. You are your own rescue mission. No one's coming, and that's good news. Because you're enough. The most important promises are the ones you keep in private. That's where real self-worth is built. Solitude is the highest form of alignment. It teaches you who you are without anyone's opinion. Success earned without self-respect is just another form of emptiness. Heal first, hustle second. Focus is your greatest asset in a world that wants to keep you reactive. Protect it like your future depends on it, and because it does. Final reflection, you didn't just read a book. You walked through a transformation, and maybe, for the first time in a long time, you believe in your ability to lead yourself. That's the victory. Now keep going. Protect this fire. Don't shrink. Don't stop. Don't negotiate with the old version of you ever again. You focused on you, and that's how you won.